The UK is apparently one of the best places on Earth to survive the global collapse that seems to be coming.
God's country.
Did these feet in ancient times. That's all I'm saying. Anyway, so this is a recent report that came out from Angela Ruskin University's Global Sustainability Institute, who looked at the range of factors, including access to energy sources, climate, and the availability of arable land, which is farmland, and population density. I'm surprised that we actually rank so highly there. New Zealand also topped the list, with Iceland, Australia, and Ireland also ranking highly. Yes, Iceland. Famous for its fields.
You could live there, though.
Well, I suppose you can, yeah. Anyway,
I'm not sure I'd call it living, but...
Yeah, well, no. Iceland's nice, I'm sure. So, describing human civilization in a, quote, perilous state, researchers set out to examine the places that have favourable conditions for regenerating life if the world was to collapse due to an event such as a climate or financial disaster. And so... the advantages that Britain has is being an island separated from the Eurasian landmass because it had the ability to protect its borders from unwanted mass immigration. Based
independent.
The problem, though, is, of course, our political class, who will just say, no, the refugees are our strength.
You know that would actually happen. Yeah. If there was total societal collapse, there'd be some proto-government afterwards. They'd be like, we need to let in all the refugees from France.
Yes. The UK also scored well on the self-sufficiency analysis with its abundant indigenous renewable and non-renewable energy sources, modern high technology, and large manufacturing capacity. Really? Sounds like Britain from like 200 years ago. But anyway, what do I know? Anyway, yeah, New Zealand scored first place on this because of its population and geographical location. Countries were ranked on their ability to grow food, produce energy, control unwanted immigration. States with low population density and moderate climates ranked highest in the study. We've got really high population density, so I don't know why.
Yeah, I find this really fishy, the idea that we could grow enough food to feed our population. We couldn't even do it in the war.
No,
I mean, now, good God.
Yeah, now we're growing about half the food required to feed everyone in Britain.
And the population's, well, since the war, I have no idea how much it's doubled by.
Oh, it was like, in the 60s, it was like 55 million for the whole of the UK. And now it's way over 80, probably. So, I mean, it's a lot higher.
So is this assuming that, like, half of the UK population just dies?
Well, that was the thing, isn't it? It's like, okay, Britain's going to be able to feed itself after the catastrophe. So how bad is the catastrophe going to be? Anyway. So Professor Aled Jones, one of the study's authors, said he didn't expect the UK to perform strongly and was not surprised to see New Zealand at the top of the list. He told The Guardian, we weren't surprised that New Zealand was at the top of the list. We chose that you had to be able to protect borders and places had to be temperate. So with hindsight, it's quite obvious that large islands with complex societies on them already made up the list. We're quite surprised the UK came out strongly. It is densely populated, traditional manufacturing has been outsourced and hasn't been the quickest to develop renewable technology and only produces 50% of the food at the moment, but it has the potential to withstand shocks. And so this study was published in the Journal of Sustainability this month. The globe-spanning, energy-intensive industrial civilization that characterizes the modern era represents an anomalous situation when considered against the majority of human history. Well, yeah. And so if we return to what was the majority of human history in more sort of isolated states, then Britain starts to look quite good. Brexit vindicated. Bring on the collapse.
It's like the anarcho-primitivist manifesto at this point.
Yes.
Where it's like, how do we become number one in the world again? Well, we bring on the collapse, and then everyone else will just suffer.
I imagine the first line was that industrial civilization and its consequences have been a disaster for the human race, and that's why Britain's going to succeed.
Writes the Independent.
They say the academic literature paints a picture of human civilization that is in a perilous state, with large and growing risks in developing in multiple spheres of human endeavour. Reports in recent years have noted that a number of Silicon Valley tech billionaires have bought up land in New Zealand, which the study said would be the best place to survive a societal collapse. Peter Thiel, the venture capitalist who founded PayPal and had an early stake in Facebook, has also bought property there, and apparently this is becoming a burgeoning industry for US doomsday bunkers. So in the US, people are creating doomsday bunkers. It's like,
I always wanted one of them.
Sure, but like, more importantly, why should it be that Silicon Valley tech billionaires should be able to buy land in New Zealand?
Yeah.
I really don't like this. the sort of international capital aspect of things, where it's like, look, I happen to be a billionaire from somewhere else, and this could be like a Russian oligarch who just steals their money or whatever, and they're like, yeah, so now I'm going to buy up large tracts of New Zealand. Why? Because screw you.
Chinese have done this.
Yeah, because your government allows it.
So,
Why?
like, loads of Chinese massive rich people have decided to buy loads of land in Siberia, and it's causing Moscow to actually get quite worried because loads of it is being brought by the Chinese, and it's all former Chinese land. And you know how the Chinese government wants to reclaim all their former lands?
Yeah.
There's actually a funny story. I told you about this before. There's a YouTube channel, I can't remember the name. They just do like first-hand accounts of historical events. And there were some Japanese diplomats who went all the way around the world just before the country closed off. And they got to the Netherlands, and the Netherlands being a free capitalist country at the time, they asked them, well, could we buy land here as Japanese people? And the Netherlands were like, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
And I said, really? Yeah. And what if we wanted to do stuff with the land? Do whatever you want, it's your land. What if we wanted to build a castle? Yeah, go for it. The Japs just looked at each other, which is like, what? Like, you can't allow us to do this, surely. Like, this just looks like we're going to buy up the land to invade you.
Yes. And the thing is, this is not how it's always been, obviously. I was recently reading...
It wasn't in Japan.
No. Well, it wasn't here. I'm doing a book club on Roger Scruton's Where We Are. And 50 years ago, before Thatcher and Reagan, you couldn't do this. You couldn't buy land in a country that you weren't a citizen of for exactly this reason, because it's like, well, they could do anything. That's really opening the door to dangerous undermining of your country's sovereignty. And that's how it was always seen prior to Reagan and Thatcher. And so, you know, when people complain about neoliberalism, this is one of the core problems of neoliberalism, is it allows predatory finance from anywhere in the world to start buying your country out from under your feet. Not good. Probably something your government should prevent. But anyway, if society does collapse, it looks like at least we'll be okay.
I was actually there's a joke about Britain being God's country, but I mean, if we're going to survive the collapse, presumably brought on by the Almighty, then point proven.